None of this is usable.
No.
Hey everybody, we're back in my basement again. This is Shaun Hunter here, fresh off of another weekend of setting a Nationals. And what a Nationals it was.
It was almost one of the best Open Nationals that I could remember.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it was really good.
I thought it was...
We'll definitely complain about stuff, or I will complain about stuff, but I did think it was really good.
Yeah.
I was psyched about how on schedule it was. I thought the integrity of who won and who made it to finals was really good. Maybe not so much who made it to semis, but that's not a thing. But yeah, I was really I had fun the whole time. I thought the problems were really cool. I liked watching all of them. And it was, and from the broadcast perspective for the finals round of it started really tough.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh shit, man. But it just built the entire time as this top started coming in and things were getting really close. And then to end the comp with the last two climbers in their final attempts securing a win, what do you want, man? That's as good. That is as good as it gets.
Almost perfect.
What was not perfect about it?
Those two problems didn't get topped in finals. The team made some last minute tweaks.
Okay.
And made those two problems a touch harder.
Yeah.
We capped a finish hold and took off a jib on another problem. And then...
I want to talk about problem number one in finals for men.
Okay.
Because you were hucking for a crimp, it was a Technic jib.
Yep.
And then you guys put a flat hold blocker on top of it.
Block, yeah.
Was that so that you had to land in a more accurate slot, or did it close it down so that the depth of the crimp was smaller? It seemed like it was mostly a depth thing.
That problem, the top of that problem, I did not forerun.
Okay.
But the two, it was Oscar and Caleb who forerun the top of that.
Okay.
And they both did the last move static.
Okay.
So you were supposed to press again and get your right foot up. And then you go to the finish statically. But that wasn't done. I think Nathan and Shaun both touched the finish hold.
Yeah.
And they jumped or went quickly to it, which was not the intended beta.
That's interesting. I don't think we saw anybody do the press again.
No, it was another press and then get your foot up and...
That's curious. I guess I was so concerned, not concerned, but I was convinced that kind of the edge of the wall started being involved because in that part that left hand becomes so good, and I thought I was kind of laying back off that, stepping onto that blocks or motivation volume, whatever it was. But yeah, I just kept seeing just loss of balance up in the top.
A lot of the competitors were pulling off those two, but it was it was just a push, a press. Yeah.
Why do you think they didn't figure that out?
I don't know. Maybe they're so close to the finish. Maybe they didn't think it was another press, but
that's fair.
There's a lot going on in that problem, and I think a lot of the competitors may have only gotten up there once or twice. Yeah.
There's a few that. Well, it was just that start part. Some people got thrown off really. Some of the beta going out to that was
there's
people were
so
desperate,
many different ways to get to bonus on that problem.
Yeah, that was whack.
Yeah, I set that problem.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you happy with how it went? It sucks that it didn't get a top.
Yeah, I'm happy. I thought it was very interesting. It was kind of cryptic with the start. There's many options to succeed and to fail. But yeah, I just wish it got topped.
Yeah.
It was kind of close. Shaun was kind of hanging off the finish.
Well, it was cool now in seeing that because it looked like there was a moment of hang time. Everything cut and you could see it looked like a quarter pad or some shit. That looks really hard, but it just doesn't go.
You probably got there and realized no one else had done it and just let go.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise, pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool problem. We tried to aim for shorter problems for most of the comp, and especially finals because it was 4 minutes. Yeah. Which is 4 minutes without the plus. So.
Yeah.
I don't think there was a bad problem throughout the entire comp. There were some problems that weren't as good as others, but a horrible, trashy problem, I don't think there was any. Walking into that gym on Wednesday, I'd never seen so many features and flat holds and volumes.
You guys were stacked in terms of the gear you had. That was pretty cool.
It was very expensive looking. What was on the ground on Wednesday?
Yeah, man. How did you like setting with the new Morpho stuff?
It was cool. Yeah, I don't know. They're just holds. They're just giant edges. They look definitely the dual text ones look really nice. Yeah. I think they're called the shields. Yeah. At least that's what. Yeah. So they were fun to set with. They're not always super positive. Some parts are more shallow than others. And I don't think a lot of competitors had climbed on them.
Probably not.
So it was good to use them.
Yeah, no, I thought they looked really nice, and I've been like pretty against like multicolor holds.
Yeah.
But I'm like slowly getting sold on it. I'm like, yeah, sure. And I mean, I've talked about it in the past where I'm not sure if I want climbs to even just be like monochromatic even within a single problem. I'm like opening up a bit. I think I'm like getting over that like, yeah, it works for commercial. Maybe I don't care about it in
for comps. I think when you have like 2 or even 3, I think some of the problems we had 3 colors in it.
Yeah.
It just just contrasting colors and makes it pop more. Especially like I think most of the dimension volumes, I think 90% of the dimension volumes we used were all gray.
Yeah.
And the walls are all gray.
Yes.
So kind of just.
That was an issue a lot of people on the stream had. Like I saw that comment come up, and I know like I've seen it work better at some comps, and I think depending on how you light it, you can have more success and not. And maybe the lighting at this event was fairly flat in that all the lights came from one direction.
Yeah.
They all came from like the audience view, so maybe there wasn't enough like shadow or different tone or whatever. But yeah, well, honestly, I was surprised because. I should finish a word. I was surprised because at Block Shop for their Block Shop Open, the gray color of their walls is like a matte gray, like a Waltopia gray, which is very similar to the Dimension gray. Whereas here at Up the Block for Nationals, it's a gray wood tone, right? Like there's variation in the colors. So I thought it would come across better, but it didn't really. It was still like sometimes that was hard to
especially
see.
The problem we were talking about a couple seconds ago, the problem I set, like the first, I think there's 3 or 4 volumes at the start, and I remember just looking after I'd set that and the problem was finalized, just looking at it and like it's very hard to see.
Yeah, I think the hardest ones were on the slab wall, and I can't remember which round it was, but often you get smaller triangular like pyramid volumes, and because there's no like all the angles of it angled nicely into the wall, you don't get dramatic shadows. So you're like, there's nothing
what
there.
Are they standing?
They're not stepping on
a
anything.
lot of.
And if your like stream quality dips a little bit, then you're just like matte gray.
A lot of the spectators thought those volumes were a lot worse.
Oh yeah.
And they were the one for finals finals problem. But no, it's just gray on grays into. I know Caleb, who was chief for the comp, really wanted a lot of color in the comp.
Okay.
He wanted to people to tell the difference between comps that had been done in all gray gyms like Block Shop and stuff like that. So that's why we had like used a lot of pink volumes and some green volumes and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I can admire that. Some other holds that were interesting was so PCM is a company out of Montreal. Yeah, so they've been doing like some new volume stuff, and on a couple of these, they're multi-text volumes, which they're not the first ones to do that, but it's a new product from them, and on certain facets of these volumes, you'll get different textures within the same facet. So you have a 3-sided triangle. Sometimes the texture is just up towards the apex of the thing. So you can't really step on the back because it's glossy. You can't step close to the wall. You got to step out towards the tip of the thing. After the comp, I'm going to ask you how it was to set them, but after the comp, I it felt like there were maybe 2 different grits. Like there was kind of like a like still texture, but kind of glossier grit, and then one that was very much just like a matte grit. Did you guys notice a difference?
No, I think there was like the slippery, kind of just straight up, and then there was like just a normal kind of grit. But that was it might have been worn out by the end of the comp with so many people. Because none of the setters, I don't think we had worked with those features before. So we didn't know how they would hold up. Especially after semis. I think we use them a lot more in semis, with the 20 plus people going on them. Some of them were pretty interesting. Like it wasn't always like sometimes the deal text like it wouldn't go like in a straight line down the feature. Sometimes it would be like kind of off, and each feature was like kind of different. So it was very interesting to set with them. And
there was one climb where I think they were both set as footholds. There were 2 side by side. One of them, one facet of the volume had texture, and it was like opposing you, so you could step into it. But the other one, it was all the way around the top, like the apex of the thing. So it was they were pretty cool. I don't know. Did you have to like step on those for running? Did you get some experience?
They were fine to step on.
Okay.
Like they were just as gritty as the dimension volumes.
Okay.
But just the fact that you couldn't step on them all over the place.
Yeah.
Even like some of them you held in finals as well. It was interesting, especially for competitors. Probably not a lot of competitors have climbed on those, unless you're from Montreal, unless you climb at vertical, I guess. So
yeah,
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was cool. I love using just shapes that no one's climbed on before, or very few people have climbed on.
I like that people are willing to do that. I think especially for big comps, I think it's really important. And I like that. Did I understand right? The PCM kind of sent those as like, try these out thing. I think that's a huge deal.
We got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And just like all different shapes.
Yeah.
Not all different shapes, but a lot of different sizes.
Okay.
Just like a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So it was perfect. If we used one of them as a foot and it was too shallow, we could find another one that was like an inch bigger.
Coll.
Yeah. So it was really cool to have them.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. I hope, can't remember who I was talking to, but some people had mentioned that, in different parts of the world, like in Europe, there are a couple guys who are kind of like artisanal hold makers.
Yeah.
And when they make some, they don't make them like full batches. They just kind of carve them themselves, maybe pour them themselves. But they're never meant for like mass production.
Cool.
So they'll just like send a few to like a World Cup setter and be like, here, have 5 of these. And there's like maybe, 5 of them in the world. And it's just like a cool ingredient to throw in. I kind of wish there was like more of that because it's new for like me and the audience. I'm curious to see how people react to it. But it is like a good like leveling thing when everybody's confronted with like, okay, none of us have used this foothold before. Yeah,
especially the Morpho shields. Like I think Ali Up's the only one who has them in Canada. Like in time for at that comp. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Those are good problems with those holds on it. I want to ask what you think went the best at Nationals and what went the worst.
Okay. You mean like a round or a problem or like?
Well, even like your favorite thing about Nationals and your least favorite thing about Nationals.
Okay. My least favorite thing was easy to answer. For least favorite was problem 1 for the women in finals, which was very tough for them. I don't think anyone. I think we like during forerunning, none of us thought that was the hard, like the start was the hard part. I guess you kind of started with like a half mantle and then you're kind of pistoling off your right leg, and that seemed difficult for a lot of the girls. And then afterwards just figuring out what to do. I heard that when they came out to preview and went back in the ISO, they all thought it was like a run across.
Oh, okay.
Which would be like you'd be like running down on the volumes and then like going out. So that was really frustrating to see no girls get up that thing. Yeah. But I think walking on features like that, like really like shallow features, is a very Quebec kind of style. Okay. And when I was on the crew for Youth Nationals, 2 of the setters from Block Shop were like very, very good at that style. And I think it's a very Quebec thing, and I think the rest of Canada needs to start walking on features like that, because clearly like it came up the next
I broke the set. It came up the next morning when Jeff Thompson, the new high performance director, and Udo was there kind of hanging around too. And they both kind of mentioned that as like, oh, here's a thing where we very quickly identified a weakness in Canadian female climbers. Caleb giving his feedback on it, saying that he expected girls to be a lot more confident with it, and Udo mentioning like, that's standard stuff. In other parts of the world. So that was a really cool way of seeing like, oh, this is like a diagnostic. We like suddenly are very aware of a thing that all of us need to get better at. Because it was whack seeing like not just the mantle part, which some girls struggled with trying to put the weight on their feet, like they're really hunched over and seemed really dependent on the arm on the start hold. But once they got up, it was, and maybe they got up in the wrong way. Like I know Alyssa and Alana basically ended up on top of the start hold.
And people were cheering for them on the start. I'm like, where are they going to go now?
And so that worried me because I was like, okay, you got up, but it looked like it probably made it harder to get back into the right beta, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You have to down climb on the terrible feet with no hands. So it was like, maybe if they had got the start beta the different way, maybe they would have done the walking. It's kind of like hard to say, but...
Like when Caleb foreran it, walking across the features, he kind of just like, I think he just like stepped through
Yeah.
on the features and put his foot out. And Oscar, when he was for running, he just kept just matching his feet just across, and it was looked very, very easy. But
Yeah.
I think it's hard to get, unless you have training problems, boulders set for you. It's very hard to get that kind of compy style in a gym. I know a lot of gyms in Toronto don't have like walking on shallow features like that. Like it's not
that's true.
It's not a common thing. And I know after setting youth nationals in this one, it's like something that I have to work on, but I don't know where exactly I'll go to work on it, because it's like
well, like a couple of the suggestions that Udo made was and one was, you know, it'll work for some people. He was saying as kind of like a what he referred to as a personal V16 problem. So something that will be very hard for you, but maybe a long-term goal is if you have access to a slack line, rather than walking it straight across, heel toe, just walking like that, walk it so that you're just walking sideways, so you're facing sideways and basically just, you know, just tip like your toes on the slack line and just crossing over and stuff.
That's very hard.
It sounds super difficult. Like I can't walk a slack line in the normal way. But then the other one is, even if you don't have the walls, just set up some volumes so that you can replicate the angles away from a wall, just like on the floor. Just get some angled pyramid volumes, stick them on the floor. It forces you to walk on the slanted sides. So some different ways to play around with it. And that was we're just like I'm taking this tangent all the way out of town. A point that came up when Jeff Thompson was giving his debrief on like his plans for the next year, I guess, was the idea of basically site visits where either himself or Andrew Wilson, the interim head coach, will spend some time touring around the country, checking out the different gyms and like seeing the scenes, because the idea of a daily practice environment or daily training environment, they realize that it's very inconsistent from gym to gym, the different stuff you have access to. And so those ideas of just putting some volumes down on the floor, spending a half hour with your kids and just like walking around in different ways is a good equalizer for something like that. So if nothing else, just don't even put the volumes on the wall.
I feel like everyone is really good at pulling, and everyone loves to train, just like pulling as hard as you can. But now at these comps, there's so much more that you have to do, and a lot of the stuff that you'll have to do, you might not even like doing or training it. But if you want to get better, you're gonna have to suck it up and
and it's as for you as a route setter in Ontario, especially because we just happen to be talking about a women's problem, and I guess sort of for men, but I might be wrong, but I still feel like there are more dense pockets of like so in Ontario, say like first through third can often be a very dense set of guys, but for women sometimes it's not as tight. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
I don't know if,
well, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you feel as a route setter that you ever have to go to that set of moves to find separation, or are there other ways to do it?
For especially with the guys, I think instead of throwing up a hard problem for them, like I don't want to separate guys on like a burly, pinchy problem. I want to separate them on slab or coordination kind of movement. With the girls, I think a lot, I can think of like when I think of the top girls in Ontario, like Bronwyn, Leah, and Maddie, I would say they're all pretty, like obviously some of them are better at other things that like some of their weaknesses are the other one's strengths. But if I was setting a comp for them, like I would still put that kind of feature-y walking across kind of stuff, because I know they're bad at it, and they have to learn how to do it.
I think what I wish is that I just wish we got a chance to see more of them actually get to try the walk across.
Oh, for
thing.
sure,
Because who knows? Like maybe we're actually just full of shit, and the problem was the uncomfortable nature of that mantle to the side, stepping off to really bad feet. Well, bad feet. It was like maybe that's the hard part, not the walking across. We just didn't get a chance.
I don't remember a comp this year in Ontario where those girls had to walk across a volume like that.
I can't think of it for the boys even. Well, on Open National Series, I guess there was this spherical morpho ones in the corner, but that was running. But that was like
Yeah.
A couple people went static-ish, but for the most part, that was like.
I bet you
pew!
Nathan could have just staticked and walked across that volume.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He's
set
very
for
good.
Except for other people, so it doesn't matter. So thinking about that, it made me I kind of want to see Seb on it, because a couple of years ago there was, and maybe some other people, but I have a memory of Seb from when LA Up had the pop-up block wall in that side warehouse or whatever. And so in the finals of this LA Up, there was a problem where you did have to do a no-hands traverse on a slab.
Exciting.
And he was on the problem for like 3 minutes.
Damn.
But he was just like so slow and steady.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I'm doing this. And he's just like barely moving, like watching the grass grow up. And you're like, oh, we topped it. He just like, he didn't panic about anything. Like it may have been a second or third try just getting up to it. But once he got up there, he was the only guy to top it. He just like, he like kind of
just walked
it looked like he accepted the fact of like, okay, if I do this, it's gonna be slow. So let's just like hunker down. And
that's the thing. It's a lot of patience and a lot of controlling your nerves, because first you're kind of sketched out, like standing on those volumes, because you have to be pretty close to the wall to actually make sure you could walk across. And then
like chest close to the wall though.
Like my face when I was foring that, my face was like.
Yeah, you'd still want your feet like kicked back a bit.
Your
right?
feet are close, but your chest and face are gonna be like pretty close to the wall, like when you're on slab like that. And it's just like uncomfortable, and you're not. Just like the worst just pops into your head, like if you slip or if you eat shit, it's
man.
Yeah.
Teeth are gone.
Yeah. And you see that from the girls, like even it just feels uncomfortable, like standing on top of those volumes at first, and you can see like the girls just weren't used to it. It's funny, I had a discussion with Andrew Wilson about that problem, and he does like realize that we have to start working on that kind of stuff, but then he wanted the setters to also, like he said, the setters should also take blame for that problem.
Okay.
So we should know a little bit more what the field could do, could not do.
That's reasonable.
And it's good that like the field knows they have to start working on stuff now, but that he said like the setters shouldn't blame the competitors for not doing the problem, which is like something. I guess it was kind of something I'll think about from now on.
Okay.
When I set comps.
Well, what would you change about that problem if you like now you know what you know?
Yeah.
What would you tweak about that?
Either the volume's a little bit bigger, or added like maybe one jib, so they know that they have to kind of walk across instead of.
But like what? Because for me, I feel like I just want to get them comfortable standing up at the start point and still let them try for the like. I guess for me, it's just that's the part I'm
like a little hand as well.
Something so that when they hit the mantle, like maybe a lower left foot, so they feel like they can. I don't know.
Even if they had like an undercling jib, it would help them
where they can
pull
stand
up on their
comfortably and then like actually go into the walk. Like Alyssa was like throwing up knees. She was just trying to get like out of there, man. It was like that they were reverting to like really like primal stuff because it was a really uncomfortable position, man. So it was I was curious to see.
I was a little shocked at how hard it was for them.
Yeah.
But I think a jib would have helped, especially a jib on the volume, like leaning towards that way, getting more weight onto it, so you could actually like the mantling would be feel a lot easier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. Anything else about nationals?
There was problem 3 for the guys, also didn't go.
Yeah.
And that.
But some people were close.
Were they close?
Let's talk about stepping on volumes again. I don't know. Like it looked like you had to step onto and weight like straight up and down that last foot volume, and nobody wanted to.
On that flat.
Nathan went upside down to get out of it.
He told me he was gonna try like a upside down knee bar.
Looked like didn't fit.
There was a jib on that volume, on the bonus flat hold volume.
But
when we took it off,
yeah.
And
I didn't think that was the hard part though, because like some guys got there, some guys didn't. But when they got their foot on the volume, they would like be like pulled up here, and they didn't want to transfer the weight over their foot.
What was it? It was like a so ill bubby for the finish hold.
Yeah.
To get to it and then like go around it is very far.
Okay.
Like I forehand that problem, and it's like. It's without I'm not surprised no one got it without the jib, because it's hard.
Okay.
Those guys are strong. But like some guys were close in that problem, and some guys were close in the first problem. So even though those two problems didn't get topped, like we were just like we were just like a hair shy of like it being good for the field.
Yeah.
But I think they still put on a good show. Those two problems.
Okay.
Especially what do you think about the no tops and those problems? Exciting, not exciting, kind of let down?
The first one, so men's number one, I still had fun watching.
Yeah.
Women's number one, I had fun watching because, well, it was like a different, because men, they were getting close, right?
Yeah.
For the women, it was like, I don't know if we're going to actually see this section go. Like for men, we at least saw fingers going. For women, we didn't even see the bonus. There was still stuff to talk about with both of them. Yeah. So like my seat, like, it's not like I'm thinking about enjoying the problems at that time. I'm just like trying to like think of stuff to say. So for, boys number one was just like, how are people going to approach this? Fingertips so close. That's a story. For the girls one was just like, I wonder if they're actually going to be able to stand up on it.
Yeah.
And so I liked men's number one. Women's number one was just a little bit rough.
Yeah.
For men's number three was cool because it looked like it could be close.
Yeah.
I think it was, I can't remember if it was Seb or Nathan, but one of them got really close towards that finish early on. Like they made the moves early, and so they had like 2.5 minutes to actually finish it.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the guys, got up there pretty late, and it was like, okay, you're not gonna have the gas to like put it all together. So I think there was maybe one or two dudes who I was like, okay, I'm pumped about your attempt, and the other guys was like, okay, this is just gonna be hard. But again, problem number 4 like made up for all of it. For the men's one, not so much, because it was like, this looks really hard at first. Because that was a Dustin problem, right? Dustin Curtis sent that one.
Last one?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's Dustin who said it?
Because they're like that. So when I think like I just have a memory from way back of like particular Dustin problems where you're like, okay, there's a lot of different angles. There's a lot of different holds. I still don't know how it's supposed to go, right? And I usually think of it as only like one person managing to send it, if any. So I'm like, oh yeah, Dustin problem. Like he's leaving, spitting everywhere. He's leaving a certain amount of it up to God, kind of. It's like, I'm going to throw some stuff on the wall, and he accepts that on a good day or a bad day, something different could happen. So with that one, I think Pete had found out from somebody that was supposed to be the hit thing. But because there were so many holds all over it, you're kind of like, oh, there's options in this somewhere. Like somebody could hit the first one and manage to hang it if they hit the kick. Somebody could try doing like other things past that. So my mind was open to it, and I'm really glad Shaun got it at the end.
I think
it looked so sick, and that was like just throwing it like down the gauntlet of, I'm better than you guys. I know how to do this really well. And I going off topic again, but all through the last season, because it was really close last Nationals, didn't quite make it at Tour de Bloc, and then it wasn't the World Cup season he wanted. It got really easy to forget how much further ahead he is of everybody else. And at this comp, it was like a total reawakening of like, you would just, some attempts on climbs, you're like, he topped this before he like even saw the problem. It was, everything was there. He made the perfect decisions in the first attempt.
Think like
crazy.
Yeah, I think the quals kind of rattled Shaun. And during semis on problem 1, because he qualified like 7th or 8th.
Yeah, well, semis. I was curious. Did you get any feedback that he might have been rattled? Because I think if you got off your round and you had 4 tops, you wouldn't worry too much. I feel it would be after you see the other results come in. And
I didn't speak to him about it, but I know after problem 1 in semis, I think he got it in a couple goes. And after he sent it, he was very frustrated, and he was hitting his legs, and he sat down in the chair, and he was like, he was freaking out a little bit after problem 1. Maybe he thought that the semis would be a little bit easier, like quals was a bit too easy, is what I heard from people. But throughout semis, I could see him like he's getting what appeared to me like getting his confidence back and be like, I could do this and whatnot. I think he did. He's the only one to do all 4 problems in semis. I think so.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can remember finals pretty vividly, but everything else is gone.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned qualifiers. So boys qualifiers.
Yes.
Did that round do its job?
Did it?
And how well did it do its job?
I think it was definitely an easier qualifiers.
Okay.
And definitely, I know a lot of people talked about how there was some upsets in the results leading in the semis. And I think because there was probably out of the 5 problems, there was 3 of them that were around the same level.
Okay.
And I think like the team agreed on that level. But looking back, maybe the level should have been spread out a little bit more.
Okay.
Because there was like 3 kind of medium difficulty boulders, and then there was 2 kind of hard ones.
All right.
And if you didn't get those 2, if you're like a guy who's like in between the hardest boulder and like the 3 medium ones, you had nothing to really come back.
Okay.
Like I know Lucas and JJ Ma and David were like, they like just barely made semis.
Yeah.
I think they all tied for last.
I heard Caleb saying like that was the only time in his life that he's prayed that the bubble made it through.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy.
And like Lucas bumped up a lot, and David made finals.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think quals was a bit too easy. But when we were trying to set it for the field, and it wasn't like it wasn't a big turnout this year for nationals, especially for the men. Like it was only 50 men, I think. And the field seemed a little bit weaker than last year. And we wanted, people flying across the country.
Yeah.
We wanted them to get up, a problem. So I don't think there was any real regrets about quals, considering like how well semis went, and we got all the people who should be in finals got in the finals.
Yeah, for the most part.
But no, I think quals was all right, and some people had their day and they did really well. But at the end of the day, on the semis day, the people who were supposed to be in finals made it in the finals.
Okay.
What was your opinion about quals?
Pretty much what you covered.
Yeah.
Like it felt too random. It was, all the. Yes, there was an opportunity there for all the strong people to make it in, but it was just like uncomfortable with some of the results because I'm like this. It made me worried for semifinals. Like semifinals, and I mean it's been forever since I've set a comp with like multiple rounds or whatever. But I want semifinals to only have to worry about just like finding the top 6. And this time it felt like there was so much more weight on the shoulders of semifinals. It was like, so I don't mind if in semis you're trying to pick the best 6 out of like the top 10 out of qualifiers, but this was like, okay, I got to move somebody from 23rd up into the 6th, right? Like 22nd up into the 6th. And I got to take this guy in like 2nd, I got to get him out. This guy in like 3rd, I got to get him out. And you're like, what, it was like, that to me seems like a lot to ask for. So I was nervous going into semis. Yeah, it played out well. But I think if I was a root setter that round, it would have made me like,
I think some of the problems.
I would have kept my cool like you are right now.
I think so. I don't stress out over any comp.
All right.
Setting or competing or coaching out. I don't stress out with coaching.
Yeah.
But for quals, I think the problems, a couple of them were just a bit more risky.
Okay.
And the difficulty was kind of down, but for semis, the difficulty was definitely up there, which allowed the strong guys to like do strong boulder problems, and the guys who weren't as strong couldn't, I don't want to say fluke, but couldn't get their way up on a problem like they did in quals.
Yeah. Qualifiers was or semis was a little bit of a bloodbath for some people.
Bloodbath for the girls. We had a 3-way tie for first. In semis, going into semis, I think Alana, Eva, going into semis, going in.
Yeah,
Alana, Eva, and Leah,
something like that.
And so semis got turned up.
Yeah,
and I think after maybe 10th place, I don't think there was any tops, or maybe it was 12th. I can't remember.
Maybe,
yeah. It was.
It's all washing away.
It was a bloodbath a little bit for the women, but and I was surprised with the 3-way tie going into semis, only one of those girls made it to finals. Leah and Eva did not.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, man. I'll have to double check that because I can't remember that tie. But yeah, you're right. It was. I would have bet on at least one of those girls going in. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised at the field, but it was fun because it was like, okay, like first of all, Madison just as like another Ontario girl.
Yeah.
I was like, young Ontario girls. I was psyched. It was kind of weird not seeing any Quebec girls. Like maybe you had higher hopes for some of them, but a bunch of Quebec girls didn't show up from last year. For the boys, a lot of out west boys didn't show up, and some of the ones who from last year we were like they were in great form last year were not in great form this
Jesse
time,
Taplin wasn't there.
He just didn't show up.
Elan.
Elan Jones McRae, Adamson.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
A lot of them just not there, man. So. And it sounds like JJ Mott didn't have much of like a training year. It sounds like he was pretty busy.
That's what I heard.
As much as I placed him as a favorite, once I
Yeah.
got there and everybody was like, if he has a good
Yeah.
comp, it'll go. But otherwise, it wasn't like an ideal training year
Yeah.
for him. So it was, it was. Once I knew those things, it made more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But the top six weren't what I would have like bet on for sure.
I know there was some kind of expectation that some of the strong Ontario boys would have done a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I think from people like outside the province, I think it comes down to like knowing the field. I think some of the strong Ontario boys don't always do that well under pressure at these big events. Which kind of showed with some of them. Like, I want all the strong Ontario boys to get in, but semis was hard, and I think some of them messed up quals. But
Cool.
It was tough.
All right.
Yeah.
One other major thing I want to talk about, completely off of nationals. So
Yeah.
if there's anything else you want to talk about, then you have to jump in. Russia just did a like national combined event.
Yeah.
When is Canada going to do our big combined event?
I think they were thinking about doing one, not this year, but next year. But I just don't think it'll work out. Like, first you have to find a city to do it in that you could do all three disciplines, and then gyms that will want to host.
Yeah.
And then getting everyone to take a week off.
Yeah.
And be there. So I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon.
Do you think, like so the only one I've witnessed personally was Pan Am's. I have followed along with the Youth World Championships, and I lightly followed along with the BC did one, but it was a little bit like it was all categories. I think it was slightly modified with the format, if I remember right. It just seems exhausting, man. Like I aside from the Olympic thing, I'm like, I don't know if athletes want to do this. Like training for it, not so bad. Like maybe that's for some athletes, it's not so out of the realm to just train for three disciplines. Cool. Like some people already do it. But then once you get there, like how long a freaking event?
At Pan Am's, I don't think they had a day off.
God. Yeah. It's just wild.
It's
and
like, congratulations, you've done all three disciplines. Now do them all again right after another. No, it's insane. The combined format, I understand why it was created, but like just looking at like, and I guess at the Olympics it'll just be that format. You won't have like
you won't have to do
But just as it is now, it's like it's a lot for young athletes, like to be
for any athletes.
It's like I just hope no one gets injured. Just it's a lot on the body. Like Pan Am's, it was insane.
Yeah,
just watching them go through all of that.
Yeah.
And then looking at the difficulty of the boulders in the finals, it's just like, they're tired.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it'll still be successful for the Olympics because it's you don't have to do the qualifying stage basically. Well, you technically
but it's a
qualifier, but there's only 20 athletes in the first place.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm like, this can't possibly be a sustainable thing from like an event management side, from an athlete side. I think after doing a few of them, there's no way that coaches and ISTs, like integrated support teams, there's no way they get behind this. It's like, this is the healthiest way to show like your level of performance. It seems terrible.
No,
Concerned.
absolutely.
I'd be if anybody thinks it would work, I'd be interested to hear how they think.
And even like just thinking like at Open Nationals and Youth Nationals, we both had issues with blood. So doing this combined format and doing like the full three disciplines and then combined, like it's just like your skin's just
the climbing
trashed.
Podium at the Olympics is going to be the grossest like Halloween horror movie of a podium. Just blood seeping out of everywhere, taped legs. It's like scuffed up everything. It's going to be yucky.
Oh yeah, I don't have to. Are you excited for the combined in the Olympics? Yeah.
So like I'll watch it. Cool. Like climbing the Olympics, I'll watch it. For anybody that knows me, I'm not a huge sports fan in the first place. I watch climbing mostly if I have but like if I'm connected to somebody in the competition, right? Otherwise, the production value of it and just the way climbing comps work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I am easily convinced to spend like 2 or 3 hours watching. So like that's my baseline. From the standpoint of somebody who would like to have a career maybe in climbing and still be involved in it, and I would love to see, you know, how climbing could evolve in its own way, because it's clearly not done evolving, where, you know, movement changes every couple of years. Our ideas of what bouldering is and what difficulty is and all that is constantly in flux, and they get closer to each other and they diverge. And I've obviously made it clear that, like, from the Olympics, I'm worried that it's forcing us to like congeal around a specific idea too soon.
Yeah.
And it would be a shame if we didn't have the opportunity to constantly revisit that.
Yeah.
And the problem is because all of us are not dependent on, but we feed into the IFSC, and the IFSC will not make changes away from the Olympic format because all of us are there to qualify to the Olympics. That becomes our purpose. So you need somebody else to step in with an alternative, which is very hard to do because all the money, especially in Canada, I feel like will largely be focused towards the Olympics. So I worry about that trap. And then aside from that, I worry about, we're starting to see investment come in, and a lot of that's driven on the fact that that the Olympics is a prospect. What if the Olympics doesn't go well? What if climbing doesn't want to be a part of it, or the Olympics doesn't want to be a part of us?
Yeah.
That could be a pretty rough bubble to pop. And if entire sport organizations are built off of a new level of sponsorship money or government support that all suddenly goes away, I feel like that's a lot of people like me who might just be like, you know, I've done it for, like, at that point, 10-ish years. Maybe I'm done now. Athletes who are like, okay, I'm done now. Like, it's, I think any sport is a really long story before it stabilizes. I don't think we're anywhere near it. And so I think it's just like, I'm holding on really tight to the seat, man. I'm just, I think it'll be great for the athletes. I'm excited for them. I'm just all around a nervous wreck about it. Is that what you wanted? And not to say I don't have faith in a lot of the people or all of the people involved, but I think it's a next level thing with a lot of different requirements, and it's just hard. Like, even before we get, you know, maybe, like, it's not a thing now necessarily. Like, it's not like we deal with unbelievable levels of corruption or anything. You know, maybe that comes in the future. But, like, even before then, it's scary, like, how stuff could come around. So
I'm hoping it's in for more than just one Olympic Games. I
don't know, man.
I've heard that it's a strong possibility that will be in the next one, because I think the next one's in Paris, in France.
Yeah, I think it's Paris 2024 and then Los Angeles 2028.
Yeah.
So I think it could be, but I also think, like, that just means, like, we're calcifying over something that, and I mean, there's room to change, right? There's completely room to change the format, although with the Olympics, it does have to be done, like, years in advance. All I hope is that there is still sufficient resources and sponsorship and calendar time where athletes and events can thrive outside of the feeder system to the Olympics, so that somebody can mess around with a different format, and we can have events that are exciting. Like I've mentioned before, the scariest thing for me is if the only time I really get to see Sean McCall compete is at the Olympics. If I can only see the climbers I like every 4 years, I feel like it's not a death sentence for them as athletes. The athletes make that work. Not like, I mean, sometimes it's hard, but from an ecosystem of, like, climbing as something that could maybe sustain itself rather than being sustained by the Olympic system, like, maybe we won't have that opportunity. So I hope it can continue to be like a sport with a season every single year where I can watch lots of climbing. And as much as I, you know, harp on USA Climbing for different formats and stuff, I can totally foresee a world where USA Climbing becomes the last bastion of trying new things. And that would be that would be an interesting scenario. It's where they are at now, and they might be the one last hope of climbing. So anyway, again,
it's crazy, just
depressing.
Going back to, like, this season and just how long the season is going to be, especially, like, if athletes are training for the Olympics now and the Nationals and like World Cups, like Sean McCall or Atlanta or whatever, it's just like there is no break. There is just like if you're on a training plan, you're definitely not going to all the comps you used to go to, which is unfortunate.
And this will be another long episode, man. So I have no background in athletics aside from my last like 7 or 8 years in climbing.
Yeah.
Some sports decide we're going to give you a huge amount of training time and very infrequent moments of needing to perform. So the Olympic model is like a really good example of that, where you get like 4 dedicated years.
Yeah. You
have like a consistent schedule up to the one main event. And other sports are the opposite. And it's usually like team sports, if we're honest. Like Major League Baseball, you like spring training, like boom, you're into the season and you play like 150 games or something.
Yeah, it's insane.
And then you take like a month to golf. Like, I'm curious if athletes think a certain way, if administrators think a certain way, or coaches, but like, why does climbing have to go the Olympic way? Does it make sense to go the other way as well, where we say, okay, maybe we don't worry about like a 4-year nonstop training cycle. Maybe we have like shorter cycles and it's more about frequent competition. As a spectator, I would want something more like that. As a guy who wants to work in climbing, involved with organizing events and stuff, I'd prefer something like that because I could get like paid. Right? If it's a every 4 years thing, that's a lot harder for me to stay involved with it. So yeah, it's something I throw out there. I can't think of, obviously there are national events and world championships and stuff like that, but there's still like that one thing that everybody's working towards. And I don't know.
Yeah, and even looking at how many World Cups there are usually in a season, like you're not going to see, if an athlete is training for Olympics, they're not going to all of them anymore. Like
I don't know.
Some years there's like 8 of them.
Yeah,
like,
I'm genuinely like you look at the guys because the Olympics will be the combined athletes.
Yeah.
Are you going to hit like 15 events, right?
Like
or are you going to cherry pick
speed and lead and
Are you just going to do the World Championships every 2 years? Are you? Yeah, I really don't know. And then what's the value of a World Cup if a fifth of the best competitors don't show up at any given event? And it's just like there's going to be a lot of change for better or for worse. I don't know. It's just
we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Man. So yeah, I don't know, dude. I feel like that's a good spot to stop.
Yeah, this episode's probably like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Which is
No, it's got to be shorter than last one. It's got to be.
Do you have a highlight from the Nationals?
Highlight from Nationals is Rebecca Frangos running out onto the mats and just like bear hugging Allison when she came down.
Oh yeah.
And I'm assuming
the BC crew.
I'm assuming that's when Allison learned she had won, because I can't imagine she knew it on the wall. I'm sure she knew she was like close or like had a chance.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it was that moment when Rebecca just like pushed aside the security and just like ran down the stairs onto this. Yeah, I think that was my favorite moment to watch. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah.
My favorite, I think in semis, Francis Bilodeau, he was the first one to do the hard problem in semis. It was the one that had this like Delir volume pinch.
Oh, the pinch thing. Yeah, that everybody complained about. Yeah.
What, people complained about that?
They were like, oh, I have small hands. I'm not going to name names.
Dustin Curtis held that, and his hands are tiny.
Okay.
Petite.
Sure.
Like 5-year-old little
Donald Trump level hands.
Donald Trump level thumbs and hands. But that pinch was shit.
Okay, yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I thought it was awful.
Yeah, it looked rough. I thought it was better than it, I was like, okay, it's a pinch, but,
It feels really good if the volume's on the ground and you put your hand on it.
Doesn't everything.
It feels really good, but throwing to it, and I found it quite bad. But yeah, when Francis did that, I think he was the first person to stick the pinch as well.
Okay.
And then I think he was only 1 or 2 people who did that problem. And I think that during the comp, the whole comp, I think that was the loudest part of the comp.
Cool.
Was when he did that problem.
Cool.
Like Sean doing the cool campusing thing
in
in finals was cool, but I think the crowd was louder for Francis.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was dope.
But yeah, all around good event. So props to you guys.
Yay, rock climbing!
Nice job. I guess we'll talk soon.
talk again soon about trumpets and trombones and.
I don't think either of those conversations have made it into any videos, so people don't know what you're talking about.
We'll talk about indoor rock climbing. Some people in the community call it indoor mountaineering, as I've been told, as well.
This is going to be a very slow fade to black over this entire thing. But yeah.
Cool.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, as always.